1983, the music video was all the rage in the recording industry. That year, 36-year-old David Bowie signed a 5-year contract with EMI Records and made several videos to showcase his songs.
Put on your red shoes and dance the blues. Dance to the song they're playing on the radio.
Let's Dance went into heavy rotation on MTV, the new cable outlet designed to showcase music videos. The single was an overnight sensation and rocketed to the top of the charts.
Sway through the crowd to an empty space.
Video killed certain radio stars, but Bowie was one of this rock stars from an earlier generation who was perfect for MTV. He just has that majestic presence that made him a star for a new generation.
The Let's Dance album went platinum just 8 weeks after its release. In addition to the title song, the LP produced 2 other top 20 hits, China Girl and Modern Love.
What was cool about those days is that you could put on a record by David Bowie and it was accepted as a dance record. It was accepted as a song that could make people move.
David's fan base exploded. The esoteric artist, who had always been light years ahead of his time, was now right in sync with popular culture. People who had never before listened to David Bowie bought Let's Dance by the millions.
The Let's Dance period was very, very accessible. And it was accessible even to people like me, who were kind of getting on in life at that point. It was very much more popular and wide appeal than he normally appealed to.
David's latest musical experiment made him a household name. The tour to promote his new album was seen by more than 2.5 million fans. One of his concerts was at Hammersmith Odeon, where Bowie had put Ziggy Stardust to rest 10 years earlier.
The rock singer David Bowie is performing tonight entirely for the benefit of Brixton.
The charity show benefited the multiracial Brixton Neighborhood Community Association, which served the area where he had been born.
The conditions there were never that great, I mean, but it's definitely got a lot worse over the years. And it just looks as though it's been left there and forgotten, and that's really sad.
The working-class boy from Brixton now had the fame and fortune he'd always dreamed of, and he seemed to be enjoying every minute of it. He had homes in 4 countries and projected a polished, high-fashion image. By 1984, David found himself topping the charts in the company of pop stars like Tina Turner, Phil Collins, and Michael Jackson. Bowie's move to the mainstream even included an announcement that he was exclusively heterosexual.
It's a testament to Bowie that people found it strange that he slept with women. I remember saying, why do we care so much? I mean, ultimately, who he sleeps with is less interesting than who he makes music with.
But David Bowie's new middle-of-the-road image changed his direction in more ways than one. For the first time in his career, the musician began writing songs that weren't necessarily from his heart.
It seemed obvious that the way that you make money is give people what they want, and so I started giving people what they wanted.
In the fall of 1984, David released Tonight. Though sales of the album were strong, music critics felt the record was creatively bankrupt. But bad reviews would soon become the least of Bowie's concerns. In January of 1985, David received the shocking news that his brother Terry had committed suicide. David was overwhelmed with grief.
When he died and the whole thing happened, I think that David withdrew, and he didn't really share that with anyone, nor I don't think he wanted to. So it was a very difficult period, knowing that as friends we wanted to reach out, but we didn't want to bring up a subject that might cause him undue distress.
The loss of his brother was heartbreaking for David. But later that year, he put his own problems aside in order to bring attention to the plight of people starving in Africa. He was one of dozens of rock stars who performed at the Live Aid concert at London's Wembley Stadium. An audience of 1.5 billion around the world watched the event on live television or heard it on radio. David and his friend Mick Jagger also premiered a new video on the show. Dancing in the Street soared to #1, with all the profits going to benefit Live Aid. David continued to target mainstream audiences when he returned to acting in 1986. He starred in the movie musical Absolute Beginners, and later he played Jareth, the Goblin King, in Jim Henson's fantasy adventure Labyrinth. Although David wrote music for each of the films and scored a hit with the title song for Absolute Beginners, both movies failed at the box office. In 1987, David released Never Let Me Down, which he promoted on the flashy Glass Spider tour. But the show's production numbers, costume changes, and special effects left most audiences cold.
It was just a sort of David Bowie does Vegas version of himself. It was such a spectacle that it was completely boring.
I was like totally like, what the hell? This is so un-rock and roll.
David Bowie's brief love affair with the mainstream was coming to an end.
It just dried me up as an artist completely, because I wasn't used to doing that. What I'm used to doing is being very stubborn, obscure, confrontational in my own indulgent way, and enjoying every second of it.
In 3 short years, David Bowie's career had reached spectacular heights. Yet, in the process, he'd come dangerously close to tarnishing his sterling reputation as an avant-garde musical artist. But the prolific performer would soon take off in yet another new direction. And this time, David Bowie would find success on his own terms. In 1988, David Bowie surprised everyone when he formed a new act called Tin Machine.
Tin machine, the zombies that are ass. The kind that beats his baby up, the preachers and their ass. Tin machine.
And it wasn't heavy metal. I think what it was rock and roll. It was just David Bowie once again reinventing rock and roll in a way that he could give a damn about.
Baby down, clarity and prayer. There's more than money moving in his mind is like a glare.
Tin Machine drew some fans, but most people didn't know what to make of David's group.
A lot of people tell you Tin Machine was a joke, it was nothing, but it really fulfilled its mission in allowing David Bowie to get re-interested in making music and in trying to communicate something with the music. That music was, I think, his response to what later would become alternative rock.
David found creative fulfillment with Tin Machine and was looking for the same kind of stability in his personal life. For 2 years, he dated American ballet dancer Melissa Hurley and even made plans to marry her. But ultimately, the 43-year-old singer and the 22-year-old dancer grew apart and split up.